what's the mechanism for starting the war crime?
Actually, there is a lot of people who are, there is, I just heard actually before I came here that there is a Spanish judge who just issued warrants for seven Israeli political leaders for war crimes. Since the war, actually while the war was happening in Gaza, people on the ground were documenting all these atrocities. And I mean, it's not that hard to really document when you attack, when the Israeli army asks the kids and their moms to go to UN school, and once they go there, they bomb the school. This is not a very hard thing to document. So there is a huge amount of already documented war crimes that Israel committed in this very last war that is being used, and I heard that one of the judges in Spain already using these as a ground for war crimes. It just happened just before I came here.
I just want to say something. You talked about who broke the ceasefire. There was just recently an article in Haaretz saying that the Israelis were planning the attack even before they signed the truce with Hamas. So they just wanted to provoke Hamas on November 4th and just start the attack. So there's really no controversy about that.
Hamas, by the way, just 1 second. Hamas were extremely loyal to the ceasefire agreement that they had with Israel, that it was really pissing off a lot of people. I mean, how could you not retaliate with whatever you have, even with a stone? You know, when you see your people being killed every day, when you see the kids are being killed because there is no oxygen, there is no machines, there is no power to run the machines. I mean, how could you not retaliate? But Hamas was holding to the very last minute. Hamas, for people who read Arab media and especially Palestinian media, know that they were actually putting resistor fighters into jails, into Palestinian jails, because they were in their way to retaliate against the Zionists. So Hamas was unbelievably loyal to this stupid ceasefire agreement. That it's incredible. And for Israel to come and say they broke it is incredible. But they had a couple slips within their, I think the Israeli government spokesperson slipped a couple of times, on camera and said, yeah, we were planning this and all that stuff. So it's really not hard to really know the facts.
Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to go back to the gentleman's question about when the Israelis withdrew from Gaza in 2006, I believe, because this is the excuse you hear all the time, over and over, that what do you want us to do here? We left them alone, we withdrew, we have nothing to do with the Gaza Strip. We withdrew there, we ended the occupation, but a lot of people don't realize or don't know the fact that even though they withdrew, of course for their own reasons, for demographic reasons, same thing with the West Bank. They want to isolate the Palestinian in the densely populated areas, and by themselves they want to isolate them so they will have Jewish state. But also, even though they withdrew from Gaza, but the Gaza Strip actually was under occupation, under siege. Gaza Strip is completely 100% dependent on the Israelis' goods, the electrical power, the gasoline, and also the Israelis control all the borders, they control the sky, and they claim the right to control the water.
That's one of the questions.
It's the same thing with the, So this is part of the, but they use it all the time.
So they left, but they really haven't left.
And even the banking system, everything has to go through them. All the money is expected to go through their banks. You know, one thing that Tony Blair said, and I think this is worth remembering, when Tony Blair was talking just before the attacks, and he said, we want the people of Gaza to look at an alternative, to have an alternative available. And he wanted them to look at what's happening in the West Bank and how much better it was. And my colleague reminded me actually of this when he was talking about you know, that a few months ago, and actually even recently, they went into Al-Khalil, Hebron, and beat up people, and they went into Nablus. They have a house they occupy in Nablus, that was on CBS actually the other night. But the thing was, what Tony Blair wanted, this comparison. Gaza. So what is the comparison that he is making? If you look at even the same period of time in the last 22 days of the bombardment versus what's been going on in the West Bank. 1,300 people, more than 1,300 people were killed in Gaza. Over 5,000 were injured in Gaza. And there was extensive destruction. During that same period of time, 100 people died or close to 100 people were killed in the West Bank. So he wants us to think that, well, this is a bit better. I mean, this is the reality. We had actually on Sunday, we had a presentation in Anaheim by a professor. She's at UCLA currently, but she's based in Palestine. And she talked in some detail about what actually happens in the West Bank. Not Gaza. Yusuf talked about Gaza in that session, but she talked about what actually happens in the West Bank and the effect of the wall, you know, that they're building around towns and in the middle of towns. And you can be in one part of your house on the one side of the wall and another part of your house on another side of the wall. I mean, it was really, really degrading. It was really, really obnoxious. It was actually unbelievable how any people can put up with this and then yet be accused of wanting to throw the, you know, who's throwing who in the sea? I mean, this is the question, you know, we are afraid for whom? We should be afraid of, I mean, for us Palestinians, it's actually a matter, it's a fight for existence, you know, and for them, our existence itself is resistance, you know, and this is the truth. So the imagination of what would happen to them far exceeds the reality of what's happening to us right now, and that's what we should be concerned about.